Welcome to the day 12 session on Selenium WebDriver and Java training by 5 Elements Learning. Today we are going to talk about the concept of actions, AutoIt, and how we can integrate securely with Selenium. So basically what today we are going to talk about is how with Selenium we can perform some keyboard and mouse driven actions, and how with Selenium we can integrate with third-party tools like AutoIt to automate a Windows component in our web application, or how we can use an image-based tool, that's Seculi, to work with Selenium. So action, it's a class itself in Java which is used to perform complex gestures for keyboard and mouse events. The class information can be found on this link. So I'll share this link with you all. Okay, so this is an actions class. Now, the action class, as you can see, has got these keywords. For example, click and hold, drag and drop, double click, key down, key up, move to an element. Okay, so these are some of the actions which are available to us for keyboard and mouse. Now, how do we write down a program to perform them? For that, we will be taking up scenario in the website of Dell, which we are using. If we go to the home element, okay, and we move our information to there, it basically expands to a list of options. So let's have a look at it. How does this website behaves? So if you reach here and you perform a click operation, you would be able to have a look at the different options. Okay, so we are going to perform this. So we set the gecko driver property, we import the selenium.interaction.actions class, we create our WebDriver, open the website, then we find the element by.linkText for home, that is the element which we find. Now on that element we have to perform the click operation. So we create a new action class and we say act.moveToElement, where the element is recognized by the linkText property, perform a click operation on it, and with the operation we say build and perform. Okay, so we build the action and then we perform the action. So whenever we have a look at the class Harry, at the top of it, it talks about the package to which this class belongs. Okay. So this is its parent class and this is the subclass. You remember that object is a parent class for every class in Java. So this is it. And it belongs to this particular package. Now what does build and perform does? Build basically generates a composite actions which contain all the actions which are available ready to be performed. And perform basically goes and does the action. Okay. So you can, sometimes we require more than one action to complete a particular event. Okay. In that situation, we can write down few actions, then use build and perform to use to do a composite action. So executing the program. Okay. So you can see this action being performed. Similarly, I can go ahead and do this action on my application as well. Okay, the application which we were using. Any questions in here? No questions? Okay. Then the next topic we will be talking about is AutoIt. So AutoIt again is a open, so it's a freely available tool which allows us to automate a Windows application. It basically provides a support for the keystrokes, mouse movement and window control, and it can run on all the version of the Windows. The extension of an AutoIt script is .au3, which when we want to integrate with Selenium is converted into a .exe file. So some of the features are: it is easy to learn, it simulates both keystroke and mouse movements. Scripts can be compiled into standalone executable files, thus making it easier for integration with Selenium. It has got window controls and very good help and lots of keywords, inbuilt keywords available. Now, you will be requiring the following components to be available on your system to create an AutoIt script, and then we will be converting it into an exe to do our work. To download the AutoIt, you have to go to this link and download these components. So an example of using AutoIt is when you're working with a application, automating it, and there is a file dialog box which opens up. Have you ever seen a file dialog box while working on an application where it says that you have to attach a file and you can press an OK or a cancel button? That file dialog box which opens up is not a web element, okay? It is a Windows element. So if I have to handle such an element during my automation workflow, I have to resort to AutoIt or some other methodology to automate this scenario. Selenium will not be able to do it. Now, the AutoIt program which we need to download is this. It contains the AutoIt auto to exe conversion and everything we need. So you just go ahead and download this particular option, make it available for you, and once you have available, then install it. Once it is installed, you should be able to see some of its components on the Windows application in the search command. Now, in this, I might be interested in AutoIt window info. The purpose of AutoIt window info is that it is like a recorder which basically captures the component or some of the features of Windows, and you can then create some locator values. For example, here let me create a notepad. Now if I want to, using the finder tool, I'll click here and I can go ahead and see information. For example, can you see it has recognized title as untitled notepad, class as notepad. Then here in this particular box which is highlighted, it is recognized that the control is edit, instance is 1. Okay. I can take it to the GoToMeeting panel also. Can you see it saying GW head pane, control panel, G2S controls, video setting, dashboard, attendees, poll orgs, questions, handouts. It is able to recognize all this. Now if I take it to Windows, here you can see the title, class, position, style, properties, some title, the class it belongs to. Okay, so it is able to recognize these window controls. Now using this information and our scenario, I'm going to create an AutoIt script. For that, It is important that we look at the AutoAid file as well, which tells us about the different methods which are available in AutoAid, which can help us work with the scenario. So it's a very vast and a very great help. So what is AutoAid window info tool we just saw? Okay. How do you recognize window titles, text basics, then control? How do you recognize the different window controls? So it tells us that a control can have an ID, text, class, name, properties available, and then you can work on these controls by recognizing these properties. Okay. What are the languages? So it itself is a complete component or a tool to be used. Then it has given you some small examples or example how we can work with the simple calculator. So this is a Windows calculator. It has written down few example of a script to perform the calculator operation. This is a automation for Notepad. So when wait active is a command which allows us to wait for a window to be present. Send is a command which allows us to type a text on something. When close will close a window. Now the scenario which we are going to pick is this. Let me show it to you guys. So on this particular URL, when we click on this drag the PNG file here, it will open a file dialog box and ask us to upload the file. So we will see this. Here, when I click on this icon, it will launch this file dialog box. Okay. and I need to add an image file which belongs to the .png format and allow it to be uploaded. Okay, this is my scenario which I am going to perform. So as you could see, the IDE was not able to capture what was happening in the file dialog box. Okay. So Selenium will not work with this component for the simple reason being it is not a web component, it is a file dialog box. So what we do is we work it like this. We open this will open the file dialog box. Then you open the Auto8 info tool and you capture the window information. So here I'll be able to go ahead and capture that the title of the window is file upload. Okay, and here I have to press on this open button. Okay, so I can go to the control and find out that okay, this is button instance 1, class name NN button 1, and this is button 2. The class name is changing, ID is 2, for this ID is 1. Okay, so I will be able to write down, and on this particular text box, it is an edit text box, the ID being 1148 or the class name NN being edit 1. So these are the information I have fetched from this tool. Now I'm going to create my Auto8 script. So the first thing you do is you create an Auto8 script which you are going to convert it into an exe file, and then you will integrate that file with your Selenium. So this is my script. I then wait for the file dialog box to appear. Okay. Then I get the control focus on open edit 1. Okay. I sleep for a while. I say the control set text to be upload image.png. Here I have hard coded the value which I want to be sent for the image. Then I sleep for a while and I control click the button which is the OK button for the upload one to happen. So this is my scenario or my script for uploading the file. Now you go to the tools, you can say compile and build 7 to create the .exe file for it. Okay, so compile will find out if there are any errors. Build will basically be converting this into a Auto8 exe script, which is this. Okay, so it is our exe script. Now you go to your program, you open the browser, go to that URL, you find the element on which you want to click so that the file dialog box will open up. Then you execute the script by passing the command runtime.getRuntime.exec and you pass the script path to be executed. You wait for a while and then you close the browser. So rest of the work the script will be doing. So as you could see, as we are executing the program, it has been able to work with the file dialog box and uploaded the file. Okay, so our work is done. So in this we have integrated Selenium with the Autovet. Make sense? Any questions? Is Autovet a third party tool? Yes, it is. You will be needing to put path of the Autovet exe, nothing else. Yes, because the rest of the work you have done in the Autovet script, okay, where you have identified the window, then you have been working with the controls, the edit box, the OK button. All that information is available in your Autovet script for which you have created the .exe file. So once that pop-up or file dialog box is available, you run your Autovet script to work on it. Any more questions? Okay. Now the third integration which we will talk about is about Sikuli. So I'll just give you guys the web application, the URL for Sikuli, and I want you guys to just go through it a bit and tell me what do you understand by Sikuli? What does it do? Okay. And then we will talk about it, and we'll also be taking a short break of 5 minutes in here. So 5 minutes of reading and 5 minute break time. Go ahead and do it, okay? And then we will see if we can integrate Sikuli with Selenium. Resuming the session, I hope you all are able to hear me and see the screen. So what have you learnt about Sikuli? What do you think Sikuli is? So what is Sikuli? What did you learn? So for visual testing, right, it can automate images on screen. So you can recognize an object on a screen with the help of an image, okay? The image property of it, the screenshot of it, and then using that we can automate the scenario. So it is a tool which uses image recognition to automate. Now imagine in your web application there is a particular component which is not a web component but some other component. Then Sikuli is very helpful in automating such components. The only drawback being that you will be using its image. So if in case the image changes, your component automation will change. But nevertheless, it is still much better workaround than anything else. So if we have to automate web plus desktop application or a web application which might have some other non-HTML components, Sikuli is an excellent option. It can automate anything we see on screen, and it is useful when there is no easy access to GUI's internal source code. So basically, it says that it is useful when you cannot understand what is the some backend property values for the GUI controls. So you are not able to automate it by recognizing it through those properties. It was an open source project which started with MIT, and since it recognizes images, it can automate both web and desktop application. So we will be using a Sikuli jar file to create these images. Once these images are created, we can further use them to work with our program. Okay. So I'll be sharing these files with you because now there are other versions available, so you'll not be able to work with the newer versions. So you go to Sikuli, and this is an X API, Sikuli X available with us, which is effectively a jar file which allows us to create the locators for the object we are interested in. Okay, so let me just open my application to create these locator objects. By locator objects, I mean it will be recognizing and capturing the images available so that we can save it and work around it. So you launch this file. So it will start the Sikuli X IDE. Here, once this file is available, I can go ahead and say new to create a new folder location. And let's say this is my application. So it says take a screenshot. So I can take a screenshot of some of the objects I'm interested in automating. Highlight the area So this will be saved. Then I can go ahead and take a further screenshot of, let's say, this particular text box. Then I can go ahead and click here and take a screenshot of. So these objects screenshots are taken. Then I go ahead and save the information in a new folder. So at the back end, this folder will contain these images, okay? And the format for these images are .png file, okay? So these images will get stored. Now let's see how we can automate the script. For this we will be importing org.sikuli.script pattern and the screen class. So if you look at these particular files, again these documentation, it will tell you about the different methods available to us with these classes which we can use, okay? So what is the first thing you do is, you first create a screen object and then you create these pattern objects. So you create the screen object and then you create pattern, for example my account, and you pass the path to the my account png file. You create a pattern log of and you pass the path to the log of image. Then you launch your browser. Then you wait for the screen to appear and you use the command screen.click and you pass my account. That's the image. Simple as it is. Okay. So screen is a class available to us within the Sikuli, and it basically has got all these keywords available with us or methods available with us to help us perform some action. Similarly, pattern is used to recognize the object. These are the methods available. So you create the screen object, then you create your pattern objects by using these images, and you say screen.click to perform some action on that screen. So for my account and the log of, we are automating them using the Sikuli. We are working on them using the image based tool. So execute the script and see it running. So we need to ensure that the page is visible to the script. So the image was hidden because the GoToWebinar panel was over it. So I'll executing it again. So you could see that it went the mouse went to my account and it clicked here. Similarly, now the log off is visible, so it will be able to click on the log off link and we are back to our home page. Okay. So is this working clear to you guys? So you can further read about Sikoli. It is an interesting read which talks about the region, uh, the the screen, and then the pattern objects. So good and effective documentation is available for Sikoli. So it is a good idea to read it and to understand it. And then it talks about the different support based upon programming languages available in here. So it's using Sikoli X in Java programming, and what are the different Sikoli X API features, location, about screen object, about pattern object, about finder, etc. So this is all about the integration of Selenium with the different third-party tools. Okay, so we saw it with AutoIt, where we could run AutoIt with its exe property by converting AutoIt into an exe file, and then we also saw how we can use Selenium with Sikoli. Okay. Now we are going to talk about test automation framework. We will just briefly discuss about the test automation framework and the different types available to us. So test automation framework is a very important component to be created specifically when we are using open source tools like Selenium. Because Selenium inherently doesn't come with any features to manage our data object, to generate reports, to manage bugs, to create logs, etc. So, since it inherently doesn't come up with any such features, it requires to be built into the work which we are doing, so that if in case uh, once the automation suite is created, over the time when it is used again and again to test our application, the maintenance costs for that automation suite can be reduced with every execution run and not increase it. We do not want to while away our testing time in fixing issues with our automation suite and not test the build. That is will be a defeat for automation. Okay, you want the time to be effectively used. For that, your automation suite should undergo minimal changes. But this is one component which we have built, which is directly prone to changes because it is integrated with our application. So if the application undergoes changes, the automation suite will change. So with the help of using these components of framework, we reduce the change to the suite level so that the change is minimal. The issues which can come up with every testing cycle reduces, and thus we are able to get an effective return on investment. For that, automation framework creation over Selenium is a necessary component. Okay, it is not something you can live without. So automated framework can be defined as a set of abstract concepts and processes, procedures, and environment in which automated tests could be designed, created, and implemented. It includes physical structure used for test creation and implementation, as well as logical interaction among those components. Okay. So what does your automation framework consist of? Some physical structures which are used for test creation and implementation, and some logical interaction among those components. Now, it's a good read as to why you would require a test automation framework. As I have told you that we have to reduce the change to our automation suite and make it minimal as with every testing cycle, so that our main focus or our major component of the time should go into actually testing the product, then fixing issues with our automation suite. Now, any good automation suite will consist of these layers. You will have a layer for resources, a function library, a reporting and logging layer. So resources layer consists of environment variables, configuration files, object repositories, data repository, recovery scenarios, cleanup scripts. Your function library consists of generic function, business functions, and your reports and logs consist of your test reports, error logs, defect reports, and so on and so forth. All this is lying above the automation tool set. Okay, so above this automation tool set, we have got all these layers available. Now, there are different types of automation framework available. We have got modular framework, data-driven framework, hybrid framework, and keyword-driven framework. These are our four different frameworks available to us in the market. Nowadays, people have also started using BDD with Selenium. We'll talk about it a little later. So you understand by the word modularity, right? What does modularity means? So modularity basically means creating functions of the repetitive task. Okay. We have discussed about modularity when we were discussing page object model. There will be code in your program which are duplicate or repetitive or redundant in nature. So in a good practice for programming, it is always important that whatever is repetitive, you should create a function of it and call that function as and where you require those lines. And that is the underlying property for modularity. That is to build this function library so that if ever people require few function calls, then they can just go ahead and call those functions instead of actually writing those all lines of code. Because redundancy doesn't help us. The more redundant the code is, the more it is prone to error. Because if the change happens in one of the redundant code, it has to be changed everywhere in the automation suite. The more the change, the higher the rate for bugs. So we reduce it by introducing modularity. Then we have got the data-driven framework. Data-driven framework says that the data should not be hard-coded with my test scenarios. Rather, data should be kept outside the scripts and executed. Okay, so data should be managed outside the test case scripts and should be used with my framework. So you can manage data in an Excel sheet, in a CSV file, or a database. Then we have got hybrid framework, one of the most commonly found frameworks over Selenium, where we have combined both modularity and data-driven framework. In this, the data is called by the database, okay, or some other data management tool, and then you have got function library for repetitive functions. And whenever there is a call in the test case script, we first check the function library and the data to fetch this information. So this is one of the most commonly found framework implemented over Selenium. And then we have got keyword driven framework. Keyword driven framework is also a very commonly used framework over Selenium. Here we basically have another layer of abstraction over our methods called as keywords. It is generally useful in situations where you have a requirement of active participation of your business analyst or manual testers because it is a domain specific application. Generally, in those situations, keyword framework are helpful. So in this particular situation, we have got a list of keywords available to us which are effectively wrapper functions over Selenium. For example, you have got keywords like open, type, click, select, etc. Okay, these will be the keywords. Inside each of these keywords, you will have the Selenium functionality written down. So it can help us with the automation of our application. So both keyword driven framework and hybrid frameworks are extremely helpful. Now there are some of the commercial frameworks or organizations which have created frameworks over Selenium, and you can find these details on the Selenium HQ page and explore them. So in the support section, when you go to commercial support and Selenium ecosystem, it talks about some of the tools which are available with Selenium. Okay, you can have a look at them. So these are some of the frameworks available with Selenium. You can also have a look at Sauce Labs and something called as Opkey.com, which is a keyword driven framework over a lot of test automation tools. So you can have a look at the different types of framework and solutions available to us in the market. Okay, and read about it. Is this clear? The different types of framework available in the market and the ones most commonly used. Okay, now we have seen JUnit as a test automation framework, unit test framework with Selenium, but it has got its limitations. Primarily being JUnit was never supposed to be a framework for development, testing. It was always a unit testing framework available for the development. So there are some features which are not pro testing. For that, we have availability of test a framework, a unit test framework, which is test oriented. It is called as TestNG, Testing Next Generation. It is mainly inspired by the NUnit and the JUnit frameworks, and we will in the next class learn about the TestNG framework and how we can use it to create and write down our scripts. The URL of the application, the testng.org, is here, and it has got again a very good documentation. So it's a unit test framework to be used over Selenium because Java, the JUnit, has got its limitations. You do not have good configuration control. You might require a lot of add-ons to be making it usable, and it has not been updated for last a lot of years. Okay, so some of the limitations are available which can be overcome by using the TestNG. It has got better control, better configuration control from the testing point of view. So in our tomorrow's class, we will learn about how we can work with the TestNG framework. Now, you need to ensure that you have got TestNG framework available on your system. For that, we need to do this. Go to help, install new software, and there you need to provide a URL. beust.com/eclipse. This is the URL available for the testng. You need to install the testng from here. So go to help, install new software, and you provide this URL. This will show you, right now it is coming pending, but when you type it out, it will show you the component available on this URL, which is primarily being testng, and it will ask you whether you want to install it. You need to say yes. So click on the next button and allow it to install it in your Eclipse environment, and then your Eclipse will restart. So all these steps will ensure you have got testng available to you in your Eclipse environment. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, then thanks a lot for your time. I will see you all tomorrow, where we are going to discuss in detail about how we can use testng with our programming scripts. Okay, so thank you so much for your time today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye everyone.